Hey guys, so we've got our gear here today. The Southern Witchcrafts scent soap, and APR did the scent for Gravefruit, and I really enjoy it. The PTFE blade there is a gem blade that'll go in this gem Clog Pruf razor. Used it a couple times, kind of treated me rough. I think maybe it's my technique, so let's work on that today. And then wonderful soft brush to go with a potentially roughed up face, and it's the Saponificio Varesino, and it's got an amber color handle, and it's their Manchurian big old badger brush. And I'm going to get this brush back in the water. It's a really big knot for my little soak jar here. All right, he's just a lot softer, the tips especially, if I get him wet beforehand for a while. All right, so this blade has only had one use. I used it recently, and it started out seemingly okay, and I thought maybe I was using the proper technique. I was going by feel and using the technique I thought was cutting the best. And I think maybe I made a mistake there, because by the end of the shave, especially my face was okay, but especially over here was kind of roughed up. And I think, and I'm hearing this from folks like HD Shaves and some other people, that these, and I've mentioned this in the previous shaves with this razor, you really try to go for a very low, small blade angle, and which means a higher handle angle. I think maybe I've been shaving at something like this with this razor, and I need to be shaving with something more like this, perhaps. And so let's focus on that. I've been trying to do that, but then as you, once you start curving away, then your cutting edge here starts lifting off of the skin, and so now you're not cutting anymore. So I think it might, in the curves, it might be a little more tricky to maintain such a small blade angle. And when I say the blade angle, I mean the angle between the surface of the skin, whether that's this way or this way, and the angle of the blade that is going this way. All right, it's pretty easy to put these, pretty convenient. It's almost like a DE-TTO, twist to open, where you can just kind of drop the blade in to load these guys. Twist the knob to shut her down. Check that the blade is engaged in the two little feet here in the corners. Wonderful grapefruit, of course, scent here. Nice and strong. It's got some other cool things in there with it, but it's just highly grapefruit. Wonderful performance from Southern Witchcrafts. All right, and I'm gonna get my face wet, and then we'll get the soap wet. So this blade has been aggressive for me, and for the first pass, that's gonna come in handy, because my current growth is 2 days of growth. So I'm sure it's gonna do well at that. Let's just see if it also does well at making my skin be comfy after the shave. All right, I'm going to take, and this brush holds a ton of water. It is not, I don't think one would classify it as one of the super high density brushes like from Declaration Grooming or some of the other SHD brushes out there like Maggard's SHD and the Umo SHD. I think this is just the normal Manchurian, and I like it. So it holds a ton of water because there's plenty of room in the bristles to do that. Let's go ahead and start. Let's try 25 seconds of loading. I started at 30, so let's just do 25. And there's 20. And this is a vegan soap, but it performs really well. There are some vegan soaps out there that perform well, but the tallows just really beat them in terms of slickness and things like that. But this soap can hold its own even when you compare it to tallow soaps. Some soaps you say, well, it's good for a vegan soap, because there are people out there who feel very strongly, of course, about using vegan products and not using a animal-based product. And so then it's what they have to choose to stay with their convictions. But there are several makers that make a great vegan soap that can play with the tallow soaps easily. All right. Oh man, the scent on here is terrific. One teaspoon. You can add water at whatever speed you want to, assuming your lather can take it. There are a few soaps out there you need to add slowly, but most of them can handle water at whatever speed you want to dish it out. If you want to just gradually mix, a half a teaspoon in at a time, or if you want to not use a syringe and just, one thing you can do is just have a driplet going from the faucet there and just kind of mix like this for a little bit, then dip down under get a few drops, then come back and, work it for a while, and then just keep kind of conveniently adding drips that way, not track it, and that is just fine too. If you're struggling with your lather, that's kind of sometimes when tracking it becomes a good idea. 3 teaspoons now in the lather. It's looking nice. And this is a relatively new brush to me. I've used it several times, but it is continuing to shed just a little bit, and that's not a problem. Till I get to about 50 or 60 uses, I don't mind that at all. That's nice. I think we are pretty darn close. Let's use it. Let's show you a little bit about the viscosity here. Kind of pull it down to the bottom part of the bowl there, and then go up about half of it, lift part of it into the air, or most of it into the air, and we can kind of see how it behaves and drops and stretches. In some soaps, I would continue to add a little bit more water, but I think maybe on this one I will go ahead and try this formulation right here. Get my face wet again. All right, so today is just to enjoy this soap and brush, but mainly to try the Clog Pruf again. kind of hear it going over my stubble with the 2 days growth there. Definitely makes a different sound than when it has a different feel than when it is mostly shaven, you know. All right, I think we've kind of given it time to kind of work into my skin. Prepare my skin for the shave, protect my skin. All right, try out the Gem PTFE blade, second use. Trying so hard to keep a very small blade angle instead of what I kind of normally want to do, because what was happening is that normal angle that just kind of felt like it was cutting the best. By the second pass, it was, especially on my neck, my face felt fine, but on my neck, it was very irritated. All right. No, maybe one weeper, but generally no cuts or anything, but just irritated where I wasn't really enjoying the shave. So let us focus, even if I have to go slower than usual, just focus on and that seems to be very comfortable. Matter of fact, HD reminded me about a certain model of the Gem that had a little icon or dot right here. And it was the bullet tip, I think, to remind you to put that on your skin. And so that's something else to further emphasize, to keep that small blade angle. Now this is pretty comfy. So this might just be what I've been missing the last few shaves. And the good news is that if such a small blade angle is the correct way to go, it's a good one for newbies, because if you're going really small with the blade angle, then either you're going to be just right, or the blade is going to be too small, the angle is going to be too small, and the edge is going to lift up off your skin, in which case you're not going to be causing yourself any irritation. So erring on the side of that is probably a good idea. We'll just see how everything turns up today. I think I'm liking that. Now let's see, I've got a few kind of stray guys down along the bottom, but I've really got to be careful. This area right along the edge of the hairline is one where I really often give myself a little irritation. All right, very good. Rinse. All right. Kind of charge up the brush by pushing it down into the lather to get the lather all in there. Let's do that again. Not experiencing any irritation, anything like that. And furthermore, that was 2 days of growth. It really seemed like that first pass with such an angle there removed easily that extra growth, all that stubble, and with no irritation, and just breezed right through it. So let's just see what a second pass will do. Again, working hard to try to keep that angle nice and small. The handle kind of farther away from my skin than I might normally do. Matter of fact, it's cutting so nicely that that may have been part of what led me to go for a higher blade angle. I went until I kind of felt it cutting, but this, I don't think that's the way to go here. Also, yesterday's shave where it was a little aggressive could have been different because it was the first use of the blade, and sometimes it takes a use or two before they get, and they'll get a little smoother. This is going much better in terms of comfort than the previous shave. Oh, and it looks like we're getting a close cut too. Sometimes the comfort comes at the cost of cutting those hairs nice and close to the skin. Comfort comes because you've backed off on your on the blade being close to the skin, and so you end up with a nice comfy shave, but more stubble than you might like. And I just did a rinse, and I don't really feel any irritation, and I have a really nice cut in this area, a nice close cut. I don't really feel like I need to do anything extra. I don't really chase baby butt smooth on my anywhere on my face, really. I can get very close to it on my cheeks, but I don't really even feel like, well, let's go ahead and do it. I'll do another cross grain pass on my cheeks. And as I like the strong scents from usually Southern Witchcrafts, put together a nice strong scent profile. Don't have to worry about weak ones coming out of their shop. Courtney is the one who is Stephen does the brushes and Courtney does the soaps kind of for the most part. And she just does a great job. I like so many of their scents. I could easily, I have several of theirs, and I could easily just use their stuff only and just have a rotation of 7 or 8 might be what I have from them that I just really enjoy, and just rotate from those for until I die. They're just really nice, complex, interesting, different, but in many ways kind of classic and enjoyable. So they're terrific. All right, so I'm going to do cross grain again on my cheeks here. Now, a lot of people will, on the second, if they do a second cross grain pass instead of the against the grain, they'll switch directions. And where I always start from my ear and go this way, I could then switch and go that way. I don't really enjoy that pass. It's not as, it just doesn't feel right. And I do get close enough with 2 cross the grain passes going that way. And so I just leave it at that. I'm not trying to chase perfection here. If I was a face model or something like that, it might be different, but I are not. See that nice well-hydrated lather just kind of gooping off? That is just fine. Taking it easy, keeping that light touch, because this razor can generate some irritation, that's for sure. And make sure I'm, in this case, because this is such a problem area, definitely doing a little bit of kind of skin pulling. And just such a light touch. I'm watching that blade angle. Let's switch around and go from here. And there we go. It's not baby butt smooth, but I got a feeling it's very nice. All right, let's rinse and see what happened. So I do have a tiny bit of irritation, just kind of in this, my trouble area here, my soft neck skin, and but it's very small, but it's enough to where it makes me be very cautious when I'm working on this area. Now I still got a nice shave here. There are a few kind of patchy places, and I think I just get that sometimes when I'm using a razor that's kind of on the edge of my tolerability in terms of aggression. And so I think it looks like with this technique, I'm very happy to have found that that this technique works well with keeping the that face plate kind of up against that top cap, very close to my skin, to have that small blade angle, with the handle being farther out than I was using in previous shaves. And I was able to get something comfortable. I could probably do this every day if I wanted to. And I would imagine that the care I'm taking to not kind of inflame this area, maybe my technique would improve. But that's really the only thing that makes me think I wouldn't want to do it every day. But at least I figured out I don't have any visible redness because of razor burn. And so I didn't have any stain. I had a nice cold water rinse just now. It wasn't pointing out any rough technique places. It was very soothing to my skin. And so I feel like I have, thanks to that good advice about the blade angle, I think that I found the best way that I can shave with this razor. And it was, in general, quite comfortable. As long as I took my time, it felt pretty safe. I didn't feel in too much danger. It was really, and it, to be honest, it didn't even seem like I was mowing through 2 days of growth. It just moved through the hair so easy. And maybe that's why it's a little deceptive, and you want to bring that handle angle in so that you start hearing the shaving action a little bit more. Well, for me, what I've been saying this whole time is that very thing is what is going to cause me irritation. And maybe that's a problem for some of you. I know that somebody else answered with my problem shave with this razor recently, that they were having kind of a similar issue with that razor. And so maybe I'll leave a comment with him from in the previous shave to say, hey man, if you want to try it, reduce that angle. And it gave me good success. Now it's still quite an aggressive razor for me, and so I probably won't use it too much, but I'm happy to have discovered something to help me put it in its best light and to be able to have it give me a good shave with relative comfort. All right, I wanted to try this Splash History 101. I love the soap scent so much. Sometimes these masculine scents, there was another one, and it was such a nice scent as a soap, smoky and things like that, that when I used it as a splash, it was just weird and harsh and things like that. Texas on Fire, for instance, from Sterling. Love it as a soap, wonderful and one of my favorites. But as a splash, it was too much. The different kinds of things were what I was getting out of the shave. So let's just, I put the History 101 aside as a splash here. I have the soap. Let's just see how it does scent-wise. And of course, this is from summer break. I'm getting a good bit of kind of burning. And this is the his first batch because the logo has the schoolhouse with the bell. He switched away from that logo because people weren't really getting the school vibe from that. It was seeming to some people like it was a church. And so he wanted to stick with the school impression. And for me, I look at it and I think school, you know. Okay, the stinging's gone, so that didn't last very long. The aftershave burn. I think that's pretty good. Keep this guy around. Yeah. Nice. I like it. All right. Very good. Very good. So I'm happy with the closeness. I do have a few patches where you can see some length in the hairs. But to tell you the truth, with the 3 passes done to it, I don't want to do any more. I feel like the aggression is enough to where it's gonna break. It's gonna give me some razor burn if I do. And so that might be why I don't return to this razor too often. Kind of along those lines. Looks like for 3 passes, 25 seconds was perfect for this brush. Working up a lather with this soap. I was right, maybe on the wet side of perfect in terms of where I like this lather to be. It definitely did its job with a nice slick slick passes and layer, nice creamy lather. But as you can see, I didn't have a ton left over. So in terms of economy, this was a really good, and conservation, this was a really good measurement ratio today. And that ended up to be, I'm very glad I didn't add that last half a teaspoon of water. I used 3.5 teaspoons of water, and that was 25 seconds of loading. And so very nice, very good. Yeah, my face feels very comfortable, very good. I do feel a little bit of irritation sometimes when I move my neck a certain way, but I guarantee that'll be gone 5 minutes, something like that. So very good. I could use this razor and blade daily if I needed to. HD Shaves says that he is usually able to get about 15 uses easily from these PTFE blades. So my other one died on me at 10, but you know what? I think I was probably using the wrong technique. So I may revisit that blade and see where it really feels if I embrace the right routine, the right technique, see what happens. All right, guys, I'm a happy camper. Anything else to? Oh man, yeah, that History 101 is awesome. Oh, good. I'm glad I found that. It was just kind of sitting kind of behind some stuff, and I thought maybe I'd set it apart to sell, but nope, I'm keeping this. Really good. All right, guys, well, this is the second use on this PTFE blade. Went very well. All right, now, take care, and I really hope that there's something about this shave that's going to help you in your shaving journey. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.